Hello and welcome to Define Roots. My name is Tian, and today we're going to explore a little bit about the topic of self and anything that revolves around the identity of self. Because this is a question that I've been pondering upon for some time, and I feel like it is an important thing to have some kind of foundation on because our life kind of depends on it. And so when I first thought about the self, where does one point the finger towards? And the only thing I could think about is kind of like, who am I? And what am I? And so there's a couple of layers of this to kind of unfold. And I feel like when it comes to the self, it can kind of be confusing because, well, first of all, who am I? And so the first layer, I feel like, of who am I stems from the DNA. Like we go to the basic or just to the roots of everything. We all have DNAs, and that's what kind of creates who we are. And everything kind of stems from there. So the DNA is kind of like the blueprint of life, of our structure. And so my structure, my blueprint is in there, and your blueprint is in your DNA. And so when we think about the DNA, the blueprint, now what comes after is like how I'm built. So I'm, let's say, 5'7". I have black hair, brown eyes. I have this shape, like a tree, for instance. It has this DNA. It's supposed to be this tall, and it's supposed to be this wide. It's supposed to have everything that it needs to become what it is. And so the DNA contains that information. So that's like the who am I? And that's the blueprint. And so the blueprint then now becomes, well, we got the blueprint, like a building. We have the blueprint of the building. That doesn't mean the blueprint is the building. So the blueprint is built and it becomes this building, but just the shell of it is the blueprint. And so where does the water line goes? Where does the electricity goes? That's kind of like the nervous system, where the water and the fluid system goes. And that is just the structure of the blueprint. Now, when we build the building according to the blueprint, now we get to decorate it. Like what color goes on the outside, what color goes on the inside, what kind of interior are we going to do, what kind of theme is the house going to be. So all of this is kind of like the clothes that we wear. And so the blueprint is the shell of the building, and how it's decorated is kind of like the personality, the flavor. And so depending on how the building is built and how it's decorated is going to draw a certain energy or attract. So for instance, if a building was all black, it would draw whoever that's attracted to black. If it was pink, it would draw attention from whoever likes pink. And so there's a certain characteristics about, let's say, ourselves. If I were all black, I'm going to draw the attention of whoever likes black. And if I wear like let's say like a neon green, I'm only going to draw the attention towards whoever disliked neon green or light green, neon green. Or so whoever likes that color are more likely to come to the house and want to live in it. So in that sense, so let's say my blueprint is this way. However I present myself, let's say decorate, I'm going to draw that energy, and they want to reside within me. So not to say that they're going to become me, but like that inspiration is going to be drawn into me. So let's say like I have a very neutral tone, that I wear. And I'm going to be drawn towards that. So whatever I see in the world that is kind of like neutral or minimalistic, I'm going to be drawn towards that. So that kind of style is going to be now be inspired into my home. So that energy is going to be drawn and infused and going to build this building that is based on the blueprint. So the blueprint is just the structure, like the body. Now everything else now get infused a little bit deeper. So the taste, the personality, what kind of energy it attracts, and what kind of energy it gives. Because if I had a house, for instance, and it was like the entrance was made out of like cannonballs, and it had like soldiers standing outside, and it has like sharks that's swimming around the house, it's going to be a little bit intimidating to approach that building and say trick or treat. But let's say if I had like a Japanese garden, now all of a sudden the house is going to be a lot more inviting or a little bit more pleasant to approach. You still don't know, like, okay, who lives there? It's a little bit mysterious, and you kind of wonder, okay, what kind of person lives there? It looks very neat. It looks very organized. It's very minimal. And it kind of invites like this openness to the house. It sparks kind of curiosity. Whereas, let's say I have a house that's like all black, pitch black. All the trees in front is like all black. Roses is also black. Everything is black. Nothing is wrong with black, but it's going to be drawn towards like a mysterious or grim kind of energy towards the house. And so if you were to ask to which door to knock on, that would kind of like be which door, which person, which interest we would be drawn towards. And so now that develops another layer to the self, to the I. We got the blueprint, which is just the building. Now we got the personality. So what kind of decoration we have. So in this way, it's going to be the clothes that we wear. So the clothes that we wear is like all black. Is it like neutral tones? Is it like calming? Or is it like expressive, colorful, bright? Or is it like very graphic? So the things that we wear is going to give off that energy, a certain energy. And so the I then now becomes multi-layered. So that we have the structure of the house, and now we have the decoration of the house. And we also have, or the exterior, but we also have the interior. So let's say the outside might look, let's say, intimidating, like all black, or has soldiers outside, guard dogs, and have barbed wires and everything like that. And then when you go inside, all of a sudden now it's like you have a loving pictures when you first come into the house. You have colorful walls. You have bright lights. And everything inside is like the complete opposite. It is very peaceful and loving when you come in. You have like flowers everywhere. You have, let's say, children running around and just very bubbly inside. So it's like on the outside, it might look intimidating to scare off some people. But on the inside of the interior of the building, all of a sudden it's a complete opposite. And that's like how we feel on the inside. You know, sometimes we can be like some people might be like the sweetest person, but they have the toughest shell. You know, they yell a lot, they are very loud, but when you get to know them, they're like the sweetest people that you ever know. And so that's kind of like the blueprint on the outside is kind of built to protect what's on the inside. And the people who live inside those buildings are like the soul, you could say. And that soul is residing within that household. So let's say my body is the blueprint. On the outside is what I wear, the exterior. The interior is how I feel. And then that's kind of like the person who lives inside that building is the soul. So the soul would, let's say, it decorates the house to feel a certain way. And sometimes there's like memories that we hold on to. And there's like things we picked up when we grew up. Let's say we have bad memory. We look at that picture as always a bad memory. We had things that we picked up as a kid, like a bad habit, bad like objects that we collected, and it's still hurting us. Those can be inside the house. And so all of this kind of compose it together. You get like this I, this who am I, right? So you could be in a position where you know what the outside looks, what kind of energy it gives, and be aware of that. And you can be aware of what the inside feels. So sometimes the inside, it feels really cozy and nice and peaceful, but on the outside, it looks kind of wild. And that is with purpose, right? So if I wore clothes that were very aggressive in, let's say, colors, messaging, I wore like, let's say, spikes on my body. And for whatever reason, if I wanted to come off as being intimidating, I could wear that. But that could be a sense of protecting myself, the inner self, right? Like guard off people who try to invade my house. Let's say someone hurt me in the past, invaded my, let's say, my privacy. So now I have that kind of exterior on myself. Like I present myself in a way that scare those potential dangers. And maybe I'm just drawn towards that too. It doesn't have to be something to be defensive about, but more so, I just like that style, So whatever that is, the I is like a multi-layered structure. So knowing what kind of energy it gives off, and know what kind of energy it's on the inside, and knowing the entire structure itself is through the awareness. So knowing the I, or who am I, now comes back to, I know exactly why I wear this type of things, because it makes me feel a certain way. I know how I feel on the inside because I'm aware of my emotions and feelings. So let's say, whenever it gets hot outside, I turn on the AC on the inside. So the AC is kind of like cooling myself down. I know it gets hot inside the house. So as the soul, it knows that it's getting hot. So when it gets hot, it's easy to get aggravated and agitated. So the first thing to do, turn on the AC, cool the house down, right? Because if it was hot outside, in other words, if some aggression is happening on the outside, and then on the inside, I turn on the heat, get more aggressive, get more hot. And now all of a sudden, the aggression meets aggression. And then so if people are fighting outside and I see that, and then the soul gets its equipment ready, runs out and begins fighting with people. But that's a choice, right? So the soul, we have the choice to do those things. So knowing which choice to make in which certain situation can change the experience of life. So in that sense, it's like the building is stationary and life happens. Like if we were a tree, for instance, it is stationary and life happens every day. You have the wind come, sometimes you have the rain, sometimes you have the sunlight, the moon, and it always changes. And so same thing with the building, right? Things are going to happen in life. Things, let's say a tree knocks onto our house, the wall breaks down, and then we have to fix it, right? We get hurt, we have to recover. and we have to upgrade the house, right? Some things might wear down and we have to upgrade it. And eventually, over time, the entire house is going to degenerate. It's going to break down, right? So there's a limited amount of time that we have. So the house, the body, same thing. And knowing the I is essentially knowing what the living room looks like. What happens when the house get hot? What do we do when the house get hot? What do we do when the house get too cold? What do we do when it rains outside? What do we do when, let's say, one of some things on the outside breaks? Am I going to get sad when my tree in the front yard breaks? Like, what am I going to do in certain situations? So let's wrap it all up into one neat package. So the I, in this sense, is kind of like the blueprint, the DNA. So the DNA is the blueprint. And the blueprint is how we build a building. So we have the waterways here, the electrical paths go here, we have one plug here, another plug over there, the bathroom, the living room, everything is in the blueprint, and that's the I. Once you build the building, which is the body, now you have the exterior, which is the personality. But it combines with the exterior and the interior, because how we present ourselves on the outside, it's kind of like the clothes we wear, the message or the energy we give off. So if someone were to walk in front of our house and they see guards in front, guard dogs, barbed wire, that would give off a different energy versus if someone had like a Zen garden in the front of their house. One is more inviting and the other one is more intimidating. So you have the outside, which is how we present ourselves, and you have the inside, how we feel about ourselves. So if I'm a nice person and I want to come off as in like this mean person, something isn't quite right. Like if I'm nice in general, but I want to be intimidating. So that's kind of like having barbed wire in front with a Zen garden. Something ain't right about this. So that's kind of like when the two doesn't match. There is something that's off about this building. Like, why would you have a Zen garden with barbed wires and a guard dog? You know, like the energy is not going to be flowing cohesively. So let's say you had a Zen garden in front and the person that lives inside, it's like a maniac. He has like, the moment you step into the house, you have like guns, you have like guard dogs, you have like, let's say, knives and weapon ready to fight. So it's like, it's misleading in a way. So the person that lives at this place is giving off the wrong message. Like in the front, it's all nice and neat, but inside it's like, you do not want to step inside the building. So the I is essentially starts up with the DNA, the blueprint, the building, the outside, the inside, and the person who reside inside the building is the soul. So the soul is essentially the awareness, you could say, or the one that is steering or living in the body, you could say. And it's experiencing life from the building, from the body. So the house is experiencing life, let's say, through the winds, the sun rays, the rain, and all the animals, and everything that happens outside of the building is essentially life. So what does the soul do, or the person who resides at the building do? Let's say if the door broke down, if someone tried to invade their space, what do? If someone breaks into the house, what do you do? Let's say, and then how you would want to live. Would you want to be inviting towards people who come in? Would you want to go out and be curious about who lives next to you? And what kind of expression would you want to express into the world? So that would be the combination of how the house is decorated and how the person on the inside wants to feel the world, wants to experience the world. So would you want to go out wearing like guns ready to fight? Would you have like a bat and guard dogs with you? Or would you come out with flowers, baked goods, and knock on your neighbor doors and get to know them? And be inviting, be playful with wherever you live and want to experience life in a living full in a living way or lively way. So all of this is kind of like the entire build or the entire onion of the eye, you could say, or the concept of the eye. And of course, any conclusion or any reasoning is personal. So my reasoning might resonate with you, and your reasoning might not resonate with me. So it's all differs. But this is just one perspective to look at the eye that I've come to conclude, and just want to share that and invite you to the entire concept of the eye. And so, in all and in conclusion, it all comes back to living and having an enjoyable experience out of life. And whatever means that is to you, it might be different from me. But in all essence, everyone who lives in this world just want to live an enjoyable experience or have an enjoyable experience. That is the essence of it all. And so, with that being said, I hope this could maybe shine some light into the concept of the eye. Maybe you could grasp a different angle or maybe understand it from a different perspective. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.